on the blog or something along those lines. You know, just maybe about how you spend your freelance time, or you know, like when you said that you've worked in all sorts of kind of side locations, you know, stuff like that, things that are fun for people to hear about or might be informative or whatever. I've been doing some Q&As with some freelancers recently, and it's been fun to hear about people who have a certain specialty and just how they got into that niche and how they developed that as like a beat, you know, and then it's just been fun to kind of get to know them a little bit that way. So I don't know if that's something that might be of interest, or if there are any programs that you'd like to see, or...
I haven't attempted blogging yet. I've thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm working on a book that, because we started our fifth wheel travel and our RV travel so late in life, I thought I would try to be the next Irma Bombeck, and funny book. And several people have said, well, you know, when friends, of course, they're friends, so they always like what I say, but they say, you should say this for your book. You should say this for your book.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I mean, I was a nurse when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I went to journalism school in my 40s, back to nursing for the Bachelor of Science in my 60s. So I don't know what, and when I went to journalism school, they said, write about what you know, and I did, and I happened to know someone who needed a medical journalist working at CDC. So I fell right into that, and I never, until I became 100% independent, I had never had to look for work.
Wow.
And I actually looked at, I'm now just returning from this 4-week trip going, where's my next job? I do a feature a month for something called Georgia Health News, and I still do editing for a company for 20 years that I do their, to make sure their work is clinically credible before they put it on the telephone. They actually develop information for hospitals and medical centers, and I want to make certain that they don't do anything stupid.
Are these the things where if you're going to have a certain kind of surgery, they tell you call this number and listen to this recording about it?
No, it's actually more health education. It's did you know kind of thing, 4 sentences. I used to sell for them in my 40s and 50s. I was one of their salesperson people, because I thought it was such an interesting idea that you had a captive audience and you could provide information about healthcare. And I was also, it was a very small startup company, so I was their salesperson, and I wrote and I recorded. I did the producing of the videos, everything but the voice talent. I don't have the voice for it. So and the company grew, and now it's actually owned by another corporation, but they still call it Viracom, and I still do their medical editing. You just have to be so careful with health education that you never guarantee anything, that you have to be very careful about the way you use your language. Something may be beneficial or it could help you, but you can never say it will be good for you. So their medical writers that they use in this company don't have a medical background. So I'm just, and I researched, if they say 2 million people or 6 million people have diabetes, I go in to make sure, where did they get this? You know, how did they establish an actual bit of data regarding a disease? So that's
it must be like I have covered tax, and I'm not a lawyer or a CPA. I'm not schooled in it, and we have technical reviewers at BNA who go through and look at some stuff. They don't have to look at everything really carefully, but it sounds like that's what you're doing.
Just making sure that
it's correct.
Well, because you're with healthcare, you have to be careful with the Federal Trade Commission. They have actual rules and, you know, the law.
Yeah.
The law, but thank goodness it is. I'm all for it. You know, that you don't promise someone that 4 cups of coffee a day is going to reduce your chance for cancer. You just can't say things like that. So I want to make sure this company stays clinically credible. But I just got a signed contract from a large company in New York, and 4 days after the contract arrived, the person that hired me left.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have this contract and no one to work for, and I thought, you know what, I need more work. I should start reaching out, and hence here I am at SPJ today. So I don't know how to get more work. There are a lot of people in my same situation, I think. It's tough out there. We don't have any camaraderie. You know, we work alone. We work in our silos. So
what about your Healthcare Journalists Association?
Yeah, that's been very good, and I do go on there a lot. In fact, I looked today for jobs. Under jobs, you have to be a paid member to pick those up, but I think there must have been 13 or 14 listings, and only one was freelance. Full-time. So if all of you are talking to me today from your homes, you know we don't want to go to an office every day.
You're right.
I just thought I would quick interject that me, and this is being recorded now, so people will be able to replay part of the meeting. So just so you know, yep. And I think it looks like it might just be the 3 of us. Judy was wondering earlier what the turnout is normally like, and I was saying, as I was distracted with the start broadcast button, that that it's really been, it was really varied each time. The first one or two that we had were really well attended, and then I run into technical issues every time. And I think there might be a compatibility with my computer issue there. I don't know, but
That's working today. Fine.
yeah. Well, you know, Billy was able to go in on his end and get it working. I don't know what he did, but because you might be able to see that there's an icon that says SPJ and there's me.
I do. Hi, Billy.
And I'm SPJ freelance, but it's who knows. So anyway, so I don't know what effect the technical problems with the Google Hangouts have had. You know, if people have tried to get in and you know, confronted my frustration with trying to get it to work.
Will you get any data on how many people watched rather than calling in to participate?
Yeah, I think I can get that. Yeah, I think I can.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first meeting that the timing has worked for me.
Right.
But my schedule is going to change starting in August. And I'm not sure quite what's going to happen, but I think I'm going to be working Eastern Time 1:30 to 4 instead of 12:30 to 2, 3 days.
Interesting.
So well, Judy, I don't know what that'll mean.
Yeah. Well, Judy, I don't know if we let you know. So I'm the chair of the freelance community, and Hazel is also on the executive committee. Her title is resources coordinator, and she's doing a great job with that. Hazel, do you want to talk a little bit about, you know, the resource guide and just let Judy know about it, and maybe anybody else who might be listening, and then any other thoughts on where things are at with the website or other things that you've been working on?
Sure. SPJ Freelance Committee, before we became a community, started up the freelance guide, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5 or so. It was put together by people before I was on the committee, primarily by David Sheets, who was a national board member, a regional director, and one of the people in the freelance community who was working really hard. And a lot of it was written as blog posts, and then it was kind of transformed into the Freelancer's Guide, and it was a PDF that you could download from the website. And when we started the freelance community, we decided that we wanted to put that into an HTML document on the website instead of being a PDF for download. So if you go to the freelance community homepage, you'll see the big blues, I think it's blues, block at the top in the middle is for the Freelancer's Guide. And if you click on that, it'll give you the table of contents. And we have great plans for it to do more on exactly the subjects that you are interested in. How do I get more work? What are good sources? And in the interim, Anna and I both are starting some compilations. I am compiling, I forget what I'm compiling. I'm compiling websites that are essentially lists of publications, like Writer's Market and Writer's Digest, and some others that you could go through and see what other publications you might sell a specific piece to.
Right.
And then I started another one too. The other one is that the other resource that I'm compiling now is either a list of links to rate sheets or rate guidelines, or in some cases maybe rate sheets on their own. And my thought as part of this library of resources that we've really just started fleshing out in the last couple of weeks, I'm hoping we will have documents for people to download, like a Word, Microsoft Word file that is a sample invoice that you could make into a template for yourself, and those kinds of resources.
Yeah.
Those will really be intended to beef up the information in the Freelancer's Guide.
And that's something that I do. I think I had explained to Aaron that I do with my husband. We started this company, I think when he was 65, and I write and he does technical consultation, so it's our own little company, and we do work very hard to get any contract to not to either one of us, but to our company rather than a person. There are some, as you age there, and on Medicare and Social Security, there are some advantages to keeping to not have people paying you, but paying your corporation, your LLC.
Right. I have an LLC too. We've had this discussion a few times, various of us, depending who's chatting or on this call at which time. But some of us have found it advantageous to have either a corporation or an LLC, and others have said that they really don't need it and don't want the added expense and bother. And I have one because my primary client required me to. They won't contract with anybody who's not either a corporation or an LLC.
And then there's the other thing that I run into in healthcare journalism. It's that four-letter word, indemnification.
Ah, yes. It is a four-letter word.
No. I've had to drop out of contracts that were, I was hired, but then when the contract came, even though I had forewarned them, please don't add that. It's a deal breaker. Can't do it. But we want your RN. We want you to be in. Can't do it. Can't indemnify. We finally, on this last agreement, came up with a clause where we hold them harmless. They hold us harmless.
That's what I was just going to suggest. But those kinds of things, I think, are the kinds of resources that will be really valuable to our members. And that's part of what I'm looking to compile in a library of resources to go along I'm not sure whether we'll integrate it with the Freelancers Guide or make it a separate library. I'm hoping it'll be a separate library. But, you know, I haven't had time to talk to Billy about that yet. Billy's our person in headquarters who takes care of all our technology needs. And SPJ is in the process of upgrading its technology, and Billy is extremely busy right now. So whatever time he spent with Anna today, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Billy.
Yeah. Thank you, Barry, for actually getting me so I could link in with both of you.
Thank you, Barry, too. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
If there's any way I can help you, you know, I'm happy to do that. I mean, I think it would be politically incorrect for me to say, well, if you want to write about healthcare, you need to join one of these organizations over on my left side.
Yeah.
That isn't supporting SPJ. But I'm very. Have you met Sharon, the leader for SPJ here in Atlanta? Sharon Dutton.
I don't know. Maybe at convention.
Yeah.
EIJ. It's possible.
Right. And she's been, and I'm surprised. I wish she was on the line with us today too, because she's been such an important person to getting SPJ going in the Atlanta area.
Is she freelance also?
She is an independent journalist, yes.
Ah, cool.
And yeah, but her background is the Indiana Star, I believe, is who she wrote for before she moved here.
Sorry about that. I don't know how to turn it off. Isn't that awesome? I know there has to be a button on this other phone to. Well, anyway, sorry.
Is it an iPhone?
No, it's one of these guys.
Oh.
Just a mobile phone that's connected to a wired phone.
Ah, sorry, can't help you.
Yeah. But there really isn't a button on here for silencing the ringer. Oh well.
Nothing that says mute?
Well, there's a mute button for when you're talking.
Yeah.
But nothing that silences the ringer, and that's really stupid. Anyway, sorry.
You're fine. Well, I'm just looking at my notes to myself here. Judy, I don't know if you have any thoughts on programs that you'd like to, see us do. In regards to the health beat, we have tried to think about how we might reach out to people who have certain specialties and how they can kind of try to get to know each other. Because there are bound to be other healthcare freelancers, who are plugged into the community or who ought to be.
And there are indeed thousands of us, and then as you get into the community, it narrows down, and you pretty much know every healthcare independent journalist in the Atlanta area. But I'm also ready to reach out and do some other kinds of work. I just don't know exactly how to do that. I have the writer's guide. I think I could come up with some really entertaining stories on RV travel. Not quite sure who would buy that.
Yeah. That's why I'm looking to do that directory of websites to go to for ideas about that kind of thing.
As much as I've opened and closed the Writer's Guide or Writer's Digest or whichever one, I don't see it just handy right now, but whichever one I use, it's the Writer's Market, Deluxe Edition. It's supporting another computer in the room. It's underneath. I've never actually had the courage, if you will, to write and say, I think this would be good. I think learning to query in today's modern age might be of interest. Again, my journalism degree is from 25, 30 years ago. So in those days, we had to write query letters. We don't write query letters anymore.
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah, they're not necessarily mailed.
Right.
But no, querying in the computer age is a totally different thing. And we actually had a chat about this. I forget if it was the last one or the one before. It's a topic that comes up all the time. Everybody struggles with it.
Yeah. How do you get that impact? Well, or just, how do you get your idea in without someone saying, "Oh, it's a great idea. Okay, I'll have an in-house writer do this for me."
Yeah, well, that's something we all struggle with. Anna, have you had a problem too?
That has definitely happened to me. And it's funny, I've read some books on freelancing where the author says, don't worry about that. That doesn't happen. And I wish I could remember what book I'm thinking of or what books, but that has definitely happened to me more than once. Yeah.
And one of our active members from LA has had her ideas taken by the big name paper out there, as well as other big name journalism organizations. So don't let anybody tell you that it doesn't happen. But I think that from what I've heard, and I'm hoping to get somebody to write about this at length for the Freelancer's Guide, is that there's a certain art to presenting your idea in such a way that you're essentially telling why you're the right person to write about it.
Right.
So you can say what kind of sources you would get, but not necessarily say who they are. You can perhaps even go so far as to tease that I have a source on tap who will talk to me about this,
right,
but not say the name. My source is a physician or an RV dealer, supposing that you want it to be in the RV field or something like that.
Good idea. Right, and of course, when I write about healthcare, the RN, BSN will open a door for me that maybe another person couldn't get. A doctor will speak to me.
Sure.
They'll be able to look at the type. I'm not an investigative journalist, so they'll look at my work and say, okay, she's a positive person. She's trying to provide health education or community.
Right.
I'm going to work with her. I can see her work in healthcare, but that kind of thing. So yeah, but no, that's a good idea. I mean, you learn something every day. So let me think about that. How could I convince someone who is in that market? Of course, then when you get to that market, it's also you have to juggle your time, and you can command a little more revenue, shall we say, as a nurse journalist than you can as a RV person who likes to write.
Yeah, for sure.
But each piece might take an equal amount of time. But one might pay a few $100s, the other one might have $75 if they like it, kind of thing. So.
Right. Well, I guess, there are, let's see, what are the 3 Ps of, I think it's 3 Ps of why you do it. Am I right, Anna? Are there 3? It's for pay, for prestige, or for personal satisfaction. Those are Catherine Lewis's 3 Ps for why she accepts a job. And in some cases, you accept it for the prestige of writing for the Mayo Clinic's website, Judy, if that's one that you would want to. Or maybe it's RV Week that you really want to be published in.
Right.
And so you might do that for for less money. But there's a 4th P, and that's portfolio. And sometimes you have to write for less money because you need the example to show people.
Right.
So there's all kinds of things to trade off for how to decide how much you're willing to work for.
Right. That's a good point. So I haven't actually entered the travel industry at all. I've tried, but And what happens to now in healthcare? I always know it's either a go or it's not. They're either going to buy it or they're not. It's very quick if the decision is made. Sent a piece off to one of the RV magazines. Never heard back from them. Does that mean I can use that for somebody else?
Well, don't ever send a piece off until they say they want it.
Ah, good point.
And another thing you can do is get in touch with them and say, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to sell it to someone else.
Right.
Or that something similar to that.
I would need to find where it was. And it's been an extended period of time. So, but the photography was, I thought, excellent. But maybe, and it's possible the person that got it never even saw it.
That's possible. That's possible.
Way down the line.
So here's something to think about with query letters. There's the kind of query letter where you say, I'd like to write this piece for you, or I'm working on this piece and I think it's something that you might want to publish. There's another kind of query letter that's essentially an introduction of yourself, who you are, what you do,
right,
and why you would like to work for them, or why you think they should have you work for them, and then 3 story ideas. And if these don't, if you're not interested in these, let me know if there's something else.
Right. Good idea. Very good idea. Good. So now I can go back and listen to some of these ideas again, because I can go on the SPJ website. And I can also listen to other chats that you've had with other people and learn something that I perhaps didn't know before.
I think so. And Anna, do you know anything about the transcripts from the chats from the chat room?
Yeah, so I have them. And I haven't gotten any other feedback about whether I should post them on the message board or not. I don't know if it's too unwieldy to try to
I think they're too big for, but see, that's another thing that could go in our library. We could have a library of transcripts of chats.
That's a good idea, and maybe with some keywords or something that people could see the direction of a certain chat, and Well, and one thing I was going to bring up, I was just thinking about while we were talking. It seems like it would be nice if people had a way of, like, I don't know if this would be a recurring chat or like, for example, let's say Judy put out a call and said, hey, you know what, I'd really like a chat with some other health writers, some other freelance health writers, and set that up through us, and we send out a note about it to everyone, and then let's say a few health writers show up, and and that might be for an online chat, for example. That might be a good way to think about those ideas that you've been wanting to pitch, and help each other. Like, for example, we had an online chat where I was saying, you know what, I haven't done a great job of pitching to other publications, or taking an idea that I have and scaling it for a different market or a different audience. And Michael Fitzgerald, who used to be the chair of the group, he was like, well, you know what, you could do that idea that you just mentioned for blank, 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 and you could do blank for blank, blank, blank. And it was like, oh my gosh, it would really help me out if I just talked to people for a few minutes. You know what I mean? To brainstorm ideas. So if there was like a kind of a brainstorming chat, periodically where people are like, oh, maybe I need help, crafting pitches. Can we talk a little bit about, like what we're doing? Like kind of like how we're talking right now, a little bit more one-on-one as opposed to a really broad topic.
Well, Anna, if you don't have a topic for the next chat, maybe that's a brainstorming chat.
Yeah, and then if people get to, if you say you get health writers together, then you guys know who each other are, and you can kind of send something to somebody. Like, you know, when I first got involved with the freelance community, and I started to get to know, back when it was a committee, started to get to know a couple of people, you know, there's a person who became a friend who I occasionally would send a draft of some of my stories to. You know, and she would look it over and give me some feedback real quick before I turned it in. And, you know, and that's really helpful. So, I mean, that's helpful for me anyway. So I don't know if that's something that you want to think about, you know, just saying, oh, let's do a chat about health writing and pitching in that area or whatever the, you know, the specialty is. But just providing some brainstorming time. I see that Billy wrote, might be better to post the chat transcripts on the blog and tag and characterize them as chats. But our concern with that is we wanted the chat transcripts to be behind a paywall so people can speak freely. You know, like people have mentioned difficulties with certain publications, for example, that kind of stuff. Things
Right.
that are a little bit more personal.
I was just typing an answer, and but I didn't get it done before you brought it up. So
sure.
No, I think we need a library of resources on somewhere on the community's part of the SPJ website, and it's just, you know, Billy, I didn't get a chance to get in touch with you because you and I are both frightfully busy right now. But it is on my mind, and at some point I'm hoping we can talk about it. By the way, I want to say one more thing about the resource guide, just a quick update. We should have a couple more chapters to post sometime in the next few weeks. I heard from Ruth Thaler Carter. She is drafting those two more chapters. I don't remember which ones they were that she was going to be working on, but I'm pretty sure that they may have had something to do with marketing or how to get work query letters, or I don't remember exactly what the topics were, but I was in touch with her this week. She broke her leg, and so that's kind of held her back for quite a bit, but she said that she would be sending a couple chapters, and I will turn those around as quickly as I can. And that'll give us another reason to send an email out to people and plug our resource guide again, too.
Yeah.
But Judy, I'd be delighted to hear from you after you get a chance to look at the resource guide. Any suggestions you have would be wonderful to hear.
Okay, all right. Well, I've been writing for a long time, so I'm not, you know, I mean, I'm not sure, but it's for the same clients. I'm not sure I have. Well, let me look at it and see.
Look at the Freelancer's Guide and just see what you think it needs. I know it needs a chapter on querying. That's for sure.
On
query, on writing queries.
And a fellow was just here in Atlanta. I think actually SPJ sponsored the event, SPJ in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And I went to his seminar early in the morning on a Saturday, and it was, is it Peter Roy Clark or Peter Clark Roy?
Roy Peter Clark, I think.
Okay. And he how to write short. And he did a seminar for 4 hours on how to write short, which
fabulous.
I think coming to you as a fair feature writer, I didn't know exactly what he was talking about, but I did a lot of web writing for CDC, and yeah, you have to be very succinct, and I thought his book was quite good, so I bought it, and I don't know if that the sort of resource you're looking for web writing. I mean, there's plenty of work out there. It's just different than writing for a newspaper.
Right.
At least plenty of work in healthcare journalism, especially with the Affordable Care Act. It's quite confusing, and then I've tried to specialize in something we call GERI, which is geriatrics. because there are so many people over the age of 65 that do not understand what's happened, or do not understand observation, or the midnight rule, or why Medicare pay for this, or I thought Part B was under Part A. I didn't, they don't get it, and so there's ample opportunity in healthcare, but I can provide some resources that people should go to for that, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for when you say a resource guide.
I was just looking to compile a library of resources for people to go to.
If it's people that will buy your work, that's the guide I'm looking for.
Well, right. That's part of what. Well, you know what? We've got some work to do on it. We have to get there, and I think over time we will. I'm thinking about the fact that this community has only been around for less than 2 years.
Okay.
It's maybe 15 months now since we launched as a community, and I think we've done some good things in that time. I'm looking to move. I mean, for one thing, we have what 100 and how many members do we have, Anna? Do you know exactly? Or approximately?
I think it's 125.
Okay. So, I mean, if we were a chapter, we would have 3 votes at the convention. We're not a chapter, and we don't have 3 votes at the convention, but, if you think about that, there are a lot of chapters that have fewer than 50 people, and we have 125 people in our community. So I think that we've done really well to grow the way we have in this period of time, but I think that there is work to be done. I think we need to work on it.
I agree. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. I posted this fellowship opportunity that SPJ is offering for diverse journalists who are on a management track. So I went ahead and put that in the chat box. The original deadline got extended a little bit to the 20th. So I just wanted to make people aware of that.
That pointer leadership, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Very nice. And that's where Roy Peter Clark, have we decided his name? I don't have the book in front of me. It's by my bed, but that's exactly where he teaches at that.
That pointer, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks like a good opportunity. And then I saw that Michael posted on the forum also that he's going to be teaching an online freelance course. I don't know through what school, but he wondered, what kinds of things people would like to see in an online freelance course. And he's got a dozen topics that he's looking at. But if people have suggestions, he'd like to hear those. And he's also wondering, he's putting together a resource. A list of good reading, either for journalism in general or for freelancing. So if you've been reading some articles or some books that you've found helpful or insightful, feel free to send them his way or post them on the website. I'm just looking at my notes again here. Looks like we've gone through most of the items that I had on here for today. We'll have another Google Hangout in a month, and hopefully I will have found the Start Broadcast button by then.
I wonder if it was that same button that said something about off air. I wonder if you had clicked it, if that would have just put us on air. I don't know though.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna have to do some tests. Some test Google Hangouts with willing subjects.
Yeah.
And then, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think that we were recording at the time. We have our next online chat on August 4th, which is a Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central Time. And again, those are really fun. And if people have other, if people have ideas for themes for the online chats, or like I said, if somebody wants to take initiative around a certain topic or brainstorming on that, we totally welcome that. And then, Hazel, do you need anything else in terms of the resource guide? Is there anything else that anyone can help with, or?
Not that I can think of right now. It's unless somebody can get me some time.
Exactly. Well,
I'll get there though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds good. I'm gonna wrap it up here since it's getting close to 2 o'clock my time now. But Judy, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to hear from you, and be good to hear more and find out what other things you're working on and questions that you have. And Hazel, thank you so much for all of your hard work and being committed. And Billy, thank you for bearing with me, and thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Anna. Bye now.
Yes.
Thank you, Anna. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.